Hey everyone. I haven't prepared a speech, so we're just going to wing this. Hey, this is awesome. Everybody turning up? This is great. It's actually Auckland Writers Festival going on at the moment, so you can lie to your families and say you're cultured. There you go. I'll do a quick thanks. Man, where do I start? Obviously, North Shore Writers Group, everybody who was involved in the original novella, which then I realised I needed to turn into a novel, so thank you guys. Editors, beta readers, you all know who you are. Huge thanks. This is quite a big deal for me. My family don't write. We play rugby and fish. So this is quite, and this novel isn't about either rugby or fishing, so it's going to be a bit of a shock. So, right, let's get going. Can you grab that for a second while I turn this over? Now, you have to pretend that I'm a 6-year-old girl for this.
You mean you're not?
Deep down. Oops. I think it was the last time I was truly happy. It was my 4th birthday and we'd gone for a surprise afternoon drive out in the country. I absolutely loved car rides and suspect I fell asleep on the way, as the next thing I remember was opening my eyes to find the car completely surrounded by tall trees. It didn't take me long before I'd snuck away from my mom and dad, down a track from the car park, and was knee-deep in a stream. Even back then I was drawn to the water. I felt safe near it, calmer, where I was meant to be. As the sun dipped below the treetops, I could feel the temperature start to drop. Not that I gave a flying fish, as I was busily constructing a series of dams that were fruit stones. Well, maybe not dams, as I was very little back then and couldn't move the bigger rocks. More of a series of water features. There were terraces, pools, slides and waterfalls. I'd aligned the rocks by colour and shape, creating stone rows snaking back and forth, which funneled the currents into seemingly irregular geometric patterns. From way up above in the car park, I thought I heard shouting, but couldn't really make out what they were saying. I hoped Mum and Dad weren't fighting again. I remember worrying that it might all be my fault. Were they looking for me? Or perhaps I wasn't allowed to move the stones. They would tell me though, wouldn't they? The shouting went away, so I just went back to my waterworks. I found this gnarly old pointy stick, which I waved around like a wand as I conducted the water flow. All around me, leaves and branches spiraled and swirled about the concourse of currents. I think I let out a little squeal when a frog took off and down the water track, slalom. I'm not sure he was especially happy, judging from the wild-eyed stare he gave me. Frogs have absolutely no sense of adventure. Up in the car park, a car door slammed, followed by another. Might be time to go, I thought, so I started to trudge out of the water and stepped back out onto the bank. I froze as the car engine started, and a terrible thought crept into my mind. Had they forgotten me? I cried out, "Mummy, Daddy, don't leave me!" As I ran up the forest path, all I could hear was the crunching noise of tyres on the loose gravel. By now I was half screaming, half crying, "Wait, I'm coming, wait for me!" as I finally made it to the top of the hill and into the car park. I stopped dead in my tracks, my mouth fell open, and tears streamed down my face like waterfalls. The blue sedan was pulling away without me. From the depths I let out an ear-splitting squeal, then went on and on until my breath was gone and my throat was raw. It was so loud, in fact, all I can remember was the birds from the surrounding trees letting out shrill calls and taking flight. But the car kept going. My little chest swelled as I took a huge inhale and began to dash after the vehicle. Luckily, the forestry road was narrow, twisty and full of potholes, so the car couldn't go very fast. I still don't know how I did it, but somehow I caught up to it. There through the rear window, I could see Dad driving with his spare arm wrapped across my back of my mum's shoulders. As I ran behind the car, I started banging on the boot while screaming, "Mummy, Mummy, it's me, I'm here!" In a traumatic event, they say you remember the other senses stronger. That's somewhat true, as I can still feel the gravel cutting into my bare feet, hear the engine rumble, taste the dust in my mouth, and smell the exhaust fumes. But I also still see, as if it was yesterday, my mother's head turn and her entire face go white when she saw me running behind the car. She spun towards my father and shouted at him. I remember the elation that she had seen me, but most I remember my confusion when the car engine screamed and they accelerated away from me. There's more. The thing was, up until then, it was the happiest day of my life. We'd had a birthday lunch, and I recalled the rotisserie chicken from the supermarket, a big bottle of Fanta, and the ice cream instead of cake. Mum just pulled a 2-litre tub of Hokey Pokey out of the fridge, flipped it over, and stuck some candles in it. It was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. I think I got a Cindy doll and a board game. Don't ask me which one, as I never got to play it. Then Mum and Dad looked at each other with beaming faces. Mum laughed and said, "Go on," and Dad disappeared out through the door. Next thing, he was walking back into the room holding something in his hands. It was a guinea pig. "Be very gentle," he said, placing her in my arms. She was lovely. Her golden and white fur was so soft and warm, and she made the cutest little squeaking noises. I still remember her name, Miss Piggy. I looked at my parents, my eyes as big as saucers, and grinned. This was the happiest day of my life. And then I dislocated my bottom jaw and swallowed Miss Piggy whole. Last bit. It was a couple of weeks before they found me worse for wear. They being a father and his 2 sons out pig hunting in the mountains. They were really nice and gave me chocolates. I liked his dogs. The dad said it was a miracle they found me in the first place, and even more that I was still alive. Turns out they weren't meant to be on that side of the mountain at all, but for some reason all the game had buggered off. So they decided to try down Taylor's Creek. Trust me, it wasn't a miracle that I was still alive. Child Services took me back to the orphanage and I never saw my parents again. The other girls sometimes used to tease me and said they'd killed themselves. I hope not. It's not their fault they'd adopted a little monster.